welcome to tape number 6. We're going to give you the F chord today, which is in the key of C. One of the more difficult chords. The F chord is considered to be your initiation into the real world of guitar playing. What makes the F chord difficult is that the first finger must flatten and cover 2 strings. And while it is covering 2, the second and third finger must also play. It will be a while, I'm sure, before you can play the F chord clearly, but you may as well start and learn the fingering now and work at it, a little bit each day. That is the only chord where I'm not going to tell you you have to have it right before moving on to the next tape, because this chord probably will take time. Mind you, if you can get it in a week or 2 weeks, that's terrific. Key of C. The C chord you know, but we'll go over it anyway, starting with the first string on the second string first fret, the second finger on the third string second fret, and the third finger on the fifth string third fret. You do not strike the sixth string, you strike from the fifth string down. 4 strums, let's do it together. 1, 2, 3, 4. And now, the F chord. You see how your second and third finger form a small 2-note chord. For the F chord, we just move them over so that they're playing the same frets, but instead of being on the 5th and 4th strings, they're on the 4th and 3rd. And the first finger now has to sit back, lay flat, and cover 2. Now if we can just have a closer look at this first finger, I'll show you what the trick is on this chord. Is that you want to get the first finger to break right at the first knuckle. So instead of being arched like that, it's actually flat, bent up like that. If you can get that, the rest of the chord will come quite easily. So this is going to be very difficult. Now the worst that can happen is you'll have the chord, but the first string will be dead. And the first string will remain dead until that first finger can flatten over the 2. This is the C chord 4 times, followed by the F chord 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now if that first string is dampened out, you can still make the change on time. We'll go from the C to the F again, but this time I'll let the first string be dead. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it doesn't sound as nice as if it was clear, but you can see that the chord still works. So you should always, again, practice to have a smooth change, even if the chord itself is not incredibly clear. An interesting thing about the key of C, your second and third finger, which we pointed out, move from the C to the F by moving over 1 string. If we go back to that C chord, the third chord in the key of C is called G7. We know a G7 is a G chord with the 7th note of the scale added, as well as flattened. But now, the second and third finger move over again, but this time the other way. They move over here, so the second finger is now playing the 5th string, the third finger is playing the 6th, and the first finger stretches back to the first string. So this is quite a stretch. It's a full 6-string chord. Let's try it together. 4 strums. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sounds like twist and shout. Alright, we're going to go with 4 strums C, 4 strums F, 4 strums C, 4 strums G7, and then back to C. 1, 2, 3, 4. C, G7. Back to C. Let me play it for you a little more quickly. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. The other three chords, the relative minor, and that's the first time on the tape we've used the word relative minor, but we have looked at it in the key of G. We said the principal chords were G, C, and D7, and then you also had E minor, A minor, B7. Well, that changed to the minor key is called the relative minor. In the key of C, your principal chords are C, F, and G7. Your relative minor is A minor, D minor, and E7. Now the A minor you know, the E7 you know, the D minor you don't know, so let's go over it. The D minor begins with the first finger on the first string of the first fret. The second finger moves to the third string, second fret, and the third finger, or fourth, depending what you like, moves to the second string, third fret. Now if you use your third finger, it works just fine. If you use your fourth finger, eventually that third finger, which is now hanging free, can be used to play other notes. But as you're just getting going, whichever fingering works for you is the one you should practice. So now, let's strum 4 A minors, 4 D minors, 4 E7s, back to 4 A minors. Together, 1, 2, 3, 4. Back to A minor. Now the A minor, the bass is the 5th string, the alternate is the 6th string, the D minor, the bass is the 4th string, the alternate is the 5th string, the E7, the bass is the 6th string, the alternate is the 5th, back to the A minor. And we'll play bass, alternate, on each of the chords. A minor, D minor, E7, A minor. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now when you're practicing at first, you may want to stay longer on each chord. Here it is 4 times on each chord. That's bass, strum, alternate, strum, 4 times on each chord. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 1, here's a change, A minor to the E7, A minor to the E7, then D minor, A minor, E7. 1, 2, 3, 4. here's a progression that mixes up the major key, C, F, G7, and the relative minor, A minor, D minor, E7, or at least parts of it. A progression, by the way, is any series of chords that repeats or is used more than once. So it's called a chord progression. In this case, we're going to go C, bass and a strum, to A minor, bass and a strum, to D minor, bass and a strum, to G7, bass and a strum. And as with every chord progression or every chord change, we have to try to find similarities between the chords we're going to in order that we don't have to move more than we should. Now, if you look at a C chord and then look at an A minor chord, you'll find that the first and second finger stay in the same position. The first finger is on the second string, first fret. The third finger is on the fourth string, second fret. On the C chord, the fifth string is at the third fret. On the A minor, the fifth string is open and the third string is at the second fret. So you can say the only difference between a C and an A minor is one note. Now from the A minor, the move to the D minor, there is no note that is the same except the third string, second fret, and you're on the wrong finger anyway. So you'll have to take them all off and reform for the D minor. First string, first fret, third string, second fret, and second string, third fret. But the D minor to the G7 has the first finger in common. It's a bit of a stretch, but now here it is slowly, bass and a strum on the C, A minor, D minor, G7. 1, 2, 3, 4. Little brighter tempo. 1, 2, 3, 4. That should sound fairly familiar to you. A lot of songs use that progression. Well, now we're going to add even more technique to your repertoire. We're going to connect the C, the F, and the G7 with a bass run. Now, a bass run is a series of single notes connecting one chord to another, and as we explained in the last tape, the bass on the guitar are the bottom three strings, so the single notes we'll be using will be found in the bass. Now let's put our fingers on the C chord. The bass note we know is the fifth string. The alternate bass note is the fourth string. So let's just try for a minute. Bass, strum, alternate strum. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. Now, starting on that bass note, fifth string, third fret, we then take our fingers off, play the fourth string open, and then the fourth string behind the second fret. And that would sound like this. Notice the bass note is actually played twice. You play it as part of the rhythm, bass, strum, alternate strum, bass, and from the 4th string at the 2nd fret we go into the F chord and play the bass note, which is the 4th string, strum, the alternate bass, which is the 3rd string, then the bass note, which is the 4th string, and that takes us this far. So we ended with the bass note of the F, which is the 4th string. We'll strike it again and come down the notes the same way we went up. 4th string 3rd, 4th string 2nd, 4th string open, and then back to the bass and alternate on the C chord. Here we are. 1, 2, 3, 4. So the last note was the C chord bass note. We'll repeat that note again. Then we'll play the 5th string 2nd, then the 5th string open, and we'll go to the G7 chord, play the bass and alternate, bass, and then come back to the C by hitting the bass note again, 5th string open, 5th string 2nd, and then C chord with the bass note. Here it is all together. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now the nice thing about this is that you don't have to play it exactly like that. You can keep on a chord for as long as you like and then use the connecting bass to change chords. I'll stay on the C for a much longer time. And when I want to go to the F, to the G, or I may want to go right from the C to the G7. Now that gives you an awful lot to practice. Now naturally, just as every time we learned a new bass note or an alternate bass note, we went back to all of the chords we did before, every chord combination, every chord progression you've done can be connected with a bass run. For instance, the G to the C to the D7 from your very first or very second tape could sound like this. Now throughout this course we will be adding different chord progressions. Where we can, we'll give you the bass runs, and some of the supplementary tapes that come out every month will build this up as well. So for now, This has been a very difficult tape. You've got the F chord, you've got the chord progression C, A minor, D minor, G7. You've got the connecting bass runs between the C, F, and G7, and you have a week to learn it. Well, you have more than that. So have a good week's practice, and hopefully we'll catch you on the next tape. We start now having done our basic chord patterns. You know enough chords now that we're going to start specializing in different rhythms, different finger picking patterns. Then we're going to give you the hammer-ons. So the next tape will be rhythm, tape number 8 finger picking, tape number 9 the hammers. Then we start with the single string. The single string patterns. So thank you very much. You're almost halfway there. Well, you're a quarter of the way. We'll catch you next tape. Bye-bye now.